Oh, what have we got here then? These are the magic bricks, magic vents, magic ventilation. So these are marketed as like basically a good solution to stop damp issues. I've seen them installed for penetrating damp issues, condensation and rising damp. Basically, I have never actually ever seen these work personally. If you're a building surveyor, drop your comments in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts, I'd be really interested. So these were heavily advertised under a system called Holland Damp Proofing that has since ceased trading. But there's many other names of these now. And yeah, they've been installed in a lot of properties. These ones here come out of a property I done this year. I've got to do a video. I shall be putting a video up probably in the next week or so, this one. So what you can see is this one, they were put in the property, it's £5,000 to do 2 walls. The most I've seen is £10,000 plus VAT, 12 grand on an old barn. There was no rising damp in there whatsoever. Somebody had cut a physical in there at great expense, and all the damp was simply from salts because animals used to live in there, and I expect there was probably some form of fertiliser previously, I don't know. The normal cause of the damp when these are installed, you'll normally see them in solid wall properties like this one here. Thick render, rock hard render, multiple layers of modern paint. The render goes to the floor, so there's no evaporation taking place whatsoever. The most simplest way to deal with it, zip, whip it off, put a bell knife on there, repoint in line, lower any ground levels if need be, and normally we take these things out. Because why? They scream alarm bells. Any surveyor walks down to a house and sees them, they just shake their head. Like I say, I've never seen them work, and they just like scream drama, like this house has got a problem, and they're ugly. Like, why would you have them installed in your house? They are so ugly. But what we want to talk about is guarantees. This is the next thing. So if you're a building surveyor and you're doing pre-purchase surveys and you see these in the wall, and you know they had cavity wall insulation installed say 3 years ago and these were installed a year ago, cavity wall insulation guarantee is probably void. I'll put a video up in a minute, or a picture shall we say, where you can actually see where we've exposed them, where water was coming down from the outside and are going across the tube onto the inner skin. They were put in the wall to deal with condensation. There was no extraction in the property, and they didn't use the heating system. That's why there was condensation and mould issues. These didn't need to be installed. So again, if you've had these installed, from what I've been told by the cavity wall insulation companies, they would not install them whilst they're in there because they know about these defects. Like, well, when I say defect, basically you've got the tubing going horizontally, and also you're creating a cold bridge. So we all know about climate change now, and you know, insulation drive, which is a good thing. If you've got these installed and you want to have external wall insulation, don't have to take them out. And we also know they create cold bridges and make the wall colder there, and sometimes you can get mould spots there. I'll put a thermal video up in a minute, but we're going to go back to the guarantee as well in a minute. What are you actually getting on your guarantee? This is the best bit. So I'm going to take you off the screen now, and I'm going to go onto the computer and show you some other bits and bobs. So stay tuned. Check out this property, semi-detached house, cavity construction, beautiful physical damp proof course. Internally, they've got condensation and mould related problems. These vents are going to do nothing to resolve these problems. I got called into this property because guess what? It didn't fix the problem. You can see these went all the way around the property, and also what's happened is water was coming into the inner skin where these were when there was heavy rain. Penetrating damp. So the customer wanted to know why they were getting penetrating damp, so we proceeded to drill them out, and basically, as you can see, I'm just drilling around the outside there so we don't damage it. So it's all video so you can actually see why. And on this bit here, I'm just going to remove the magic brick, or magic vent as I call them. Wiggle him, give him a little wiggle, out he comes. And here you can see you've got the ducting going through, and this ducting actually abuts the inner skin of the wall, of the internal skin. And this is it with the magic bits removed, and you can just see the ducting which actually abuts to the inner skin of the wall. So with a torchlight you can see the inner skin which is blocked, and then here just clean that around it again, so you've got a good understanding. So any rainwater is going to hit that wall, potentially can come through, and then it can run back and hit the inner skin.
pretty straightforward really. So if you were putting ventilation ducting or any sleeving through the wall, you always have it angled outwards so any water can run off towards the external skin rather than to the internal. Basics. So just messing about here with some smoke sticks, and you can see there is quite a bit of wind movement now actually, to be fair, but you can see there's no smoke going in there. So I was just using that just to see if anything did go in there, but no, nothing's gone in. I've messed about them before and never got any wind, any smoke to go in there, as you would expect really, because you could imagine it's like sealed there because these ones are buttoned up against the inner skin. This is a classic example. So staining at low level, and what you do, or what we did on this one, basically look at the thermal imaging camera, look at the cold bridging where the bricks are on the outside of the building. Absolutely ridiculous. We talked about the walls being cold earlier after these have been installed. Now look at this here. Why is the wall damp? You've got modern render touching the floor with ridiculous amounts of plastic paint. Of course it's going to trap in moisture. There is going to be no evaporation. This is basics. Look, can we see that? Render to the floor, modern masonry paint. The building's going to be basically trapping in moisture and there's no evaporation taking place. So if you're looking at, we know what's going on here really at the front of the property. Bridging render, modern masonry paint, magic vents, and if we walk down the side of the property, guess what? Exactly the same all the way along there. And you've got two chimneys where they've been drilled into the chimneys as well. And if you carry on round to the back here, fascinating. So you know I've got a thing about French drains if you watched my videos before. So I don't know what you want to call this. Above ground drainage, perforated drainage and some shingle. I don't know how the hell water's supposed to run uphill. But you got modern masonry paint at the base of the wall. Again, going to trap in moisture. Just lower the ground levels. Get rid of that silly little drain. It's not going to do nothing. And then out here, we've got the extension, which is the kitchen extension. So the symptoms with damp in the kitchen, which is new build, or newer build shall we say, was a bit of mould. So this is cavity construction. So we know cavity construction normally got a physical damp proof course. Let's just have a quick nosy. What do we see? A physical damp proof course. So how is this actually going to deal with mould when it actually makes the wall colder and more prone to mould? It's just not going to do nothing. Another waste of time. Best way to fix that was put an extraction fan in, which we did. So how did we fix it on this property? So you can see, again, as I said, bridging render. So really important, first thing you want to do is mark it out, cut the bridging render back. Knock off the render beneath there and form a bell mouth or bell cast, as you can see on the side, and as also you can see on the front here. That is the best way of reducing the moisture. Look at this one here. This is a classic example. What they've done here is there's two chemical damp proof courses and they've also got the magic vents. The reason this property was damp as well is condensation and mould. It was nothing to do with a damp proof course or damp proofing. It's nothing to do with any of that. And you got this one here, 3 physical damp proof courses, and this is when the magic bricks got installed as well. Nothing to do with rising damp in this one again. This was salt damp from where there's been previous rising damp years ago, and lots of damp around the chimneys because you get a lot of hygroscopic salts from chimneys. Pretty simple to an averagely competent surveyor in my opinion. Now look at this one here. Absolute classic. This is the one I was telling you about. They installed it on an internal wall of a property because the lady opened her door and let her dog out quite a lot. Wow, what can I say? Like with anything, it's always nice to know what you're getting on the guarantee. Listen to this. The installation of the system involves the installation of humidity regulating elements in the brickwork. The humidity regulating elements are designed to last for at least the lifetime of the brickwork in which they are installed. The contractor guarantees that the humidity regulating elements will last for at least the lifetime of the brickwork in which they are installed. Again, if a humidity regulating element is defective, the contractor will replace it to ensure the continuing operation of the system. provided that the customer shall have accepted and paid for the installation of the system fully in accordance with the recommendations of the contractor, including as to the extent of installation. The additional guarantee set out in 7.2 below shall also apply. The best bit. The contractor guarantees to the customer that upon 12 months following the installation of the system, the relative humidity of the brickwork in which the system is installed will be reduced as measured by the contractor using an electronic conductivity moisture reading machine. Well, you cannot measure relative humidity with an electronic conductivity moisture reading machine, and if it is not, the customer shall be entitled to its money back, provided the customer brings any written claim under the guarantee within 13 months of installation of the system. Not too sure why it's 13 months. Well, there you go. There's your get out clause. How are they going to measure the humidity in the wall with an electronic moisture meter? I would love to see that. So this is really important, especially if you're a lay person or anybody is trying to understand the guarantee and what you're getting. So, if they are not taking a relative humidity reading within the wall, there is no benchmark. You've got to ask yourself as well, why aren't they taking that relative humidity reading? So just say, for instance, when they come back in a year's time, they are using a conductivity meter on the wall. So they're not doing what they're saying they're doing, drilling a hole into the wall to measure relative humidity. And also, if they are going to be doing that, they're going to have to damage the plaster, because nobody leaves like a little section for you to do this. Whenever there's been callbacks, all the jobs I've been involved with, they've never ever drilled the wall and measured the relative humidity within the wall. I don't know why they do this. They say this and it's part of the guarantee, so it's very strange. So if there's no benchmark, there's no comparison to see if it's working or it's not working. Right, I just want to clarify this. So they're saying they're going to use an electronic conductivity moisture reading machine. Now, there are various models out there of damp meters that can measure pin mode, search mode and relative humidity. But what I'm trying to get across is they're not measuring the relative humidity, which is, what the bricks are designed to do, allegedly. So you can't really measure the humidity with pin mode or search mode. If you wanted quantitative moisture analysis, you'd be using maybe gravimetrics or carbide meter or something, but we're specifically talking about relative humidity here. So I hope that clarifies it. And here we go, just to finish off, the magic bricks installed at first floor level and ground floor level. I have no idea why. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you soon.